Hey guys, so I wanted to make kind of a fun and interesting video today relative to my previous videos about the 2026 patent budget proposals and 2025 USPTO fee changes, and this video is therefore about the forgotten Soviet patent system. So there's a lot of people that don't know that the Soviets did have a patent system. Here is an example of a Soviet patent. It's very similar to the United States, and the Soviet patent system operated very similar to the United States in a lot of ways. So today we'll be looking primarily at this article. It's titled Inventions in the Soviet Union. It's by the International Lawyer publication. And, basically before the 1950s, my understanding at least, is that the Soviet Union kind of discouraged a patent system. There's kind of an idea that it was immoral to have seclusionary rights for an idea because ideas were for the people and innovation should benefit the people. But I think that the Soviet Union saw that there was some benefit in rewarding inventors and encouraging innovation in that way. And so therefore they set up a patent system. And in 1959, the Soviets enacted the Statutes of Inventions, Discoveries, and Rationalization Proposals, which basically created a patent system that was very similar to the United States. You would have a patent expert, which is sort of like a patent attorney, who would put together this application. You'd have a patent examiner who would review that application, and they would even encourage verbal dialogue, very similar to how the USPTO encourages this today, between the patent expert, the examiner, and the inventor to kind of expedite prosecution. The Soviet Union obviously is different than the United States, though, so they had a little bit of a distinction. They did issue patents, which is typically what Westerners think of when they think of a patent system, but of course, the Soviet Union operated differently, so they also had this thing called inventor certificate, which would actually be assigned to the state, and that gave a lot of camaraderie there. And, the Soviet Union, I guess the best way to put this is the United States, we have 35 USC 101, which covers patentability and basically, in some ways, usefulness of a patent. The Soviet Union, they actually kind of farmed these questions out to enterprises, and they said, hey, what do you guys think is the usefulness? So it wasn't just some examiner at the Soviet Patent Office deciding on, 101 patentability and usefulness. It was actually questioning these various enterprises, like, how would this benefit your business? And I think that we could look at that today and possibly implement something similar. But the Soviet inventor was typically limited to about 22 grand monetarily, but there were other non-monetary incentives. So again, this was the Soviet Union, so they covered housing. And if you were a prolific inventor, you might get better housing or a distinguished medal, which was very important in the Soviet Union. Again, the Soviet Union operated very similarly to the United States. There was even a 15-year term which was very similar to the United States. It's 17 years at that time. We know that it has changed since then. But, I just wanted to make this video because I think that the Soviet government was interesting, and I think that we could learn from their patent process, and I hope that you feel the same. So if you'd like a long-form content, let me know. Please let me know if you find this interesting. Thanks.